In this video, I'm going to show you how to replace your valve cover on your Hyundai Accent 1.6 liter. It's located on top of the engine. Okay, so we're going to take off this cover just by pulling up on the 4 points like this. It has 4 bushings here that you're pulling off. All right, on this valve cover there is a high pressure fuel pump. So we're going to have to depressurize the system, and to do that you're going to take your cover off your fuse panel, which is to the right of the battery. So you're going to take off this cover for your fuses, and on the back of the cover it'll tell you which relay is which. You're looking for your fuel pump relay, so we're going to pull that out. And you're going to put that off to the side. Now we're going to get in the vehicle and try to start it. It might start, it might run for a little bit, but you're going to let it run out of gas and not run anymore. Now we're going to disconnect our battery, negative battery terminal. Put that off to the side. All right, so let's disconnect our connectors. Next, we're going to remove our cam sensor wiring harness plugs. You're just going to push down on that tab and pull gently. We're going to disconnect our hose, going to our air box. All right, so you're going to want to crack this loose before trying to get it off. Sometimes they get stuck. So just twist it and then pull it off. We're going to disconnect our fuel lines using a 19mm wrench. I'm going to put a rag on top of the line just in case. All right, after I let that sit for a few seconds, I'm going to undo my line. And now I'm going to disconnect this other line. So you're going to push this quick release inside the line. And that's going to release the line from the fuel pump. All right. Make sure you just have a rag nearby to catch that fuel. Now we're going to unscrew this other one completely. And disconnect that. We're going to use a 10mm socket and take out these 2 bolts. There's one here and there's one in the back. I'm going back and forth with it. That way it doesn't come out uneven. Now you can pick this up. And you can set this off to the side. Now you're going to put your finger in there and you're going to take out this piece that goes with the high pressure fuel pump. Alright, so next we're going to take this hose off, use some pliers, squeeze that clamp, pull it down. And you can take that off. Next we're going to use a 10mm again and take off the wiring harness. So that should give us enough wiggle room once that's off of there to get our coils out. All right, next we're going to use, again, a 10 millimeter socket. And we are going to take out this bolt. I'm just going to put my coils over here, off to the side. Now that we've taken those out, we can move this whole harness off and away from the valve cover so that we have room to move around. All right, we're going to use our 10 millimeter socket with various extensions to go around this valve cover and take out these bolts. I'm using my air ratchet after I crack it loose. The ones in the middle are going to be longer than the ones on the outside, so I'm going to put those in a separate place so I know where they came from. And now we're going to take out these two using a 10 millimeter socket again. Take those out. Now we're going to take out this bolt with a 10 millimeter socket. And now we will pull out our solenoid. So now we're going to pry the valve cover off. Using a pry bar or a small screwdriver would be fine. I'm going to put my new oil cap on. So we're going to use a 10 millimeter socket and remove our pegs here for the engine cover. Transfer it over to our new one. Just going to snug those up. About wrist tight is good. Now we're going to remove our cam sensors. right, I put some 5W20 motor oil on the O-ring, and now we're gonna install it. Using a 10mm socket again, and we're gonna take out this bolt for the other cam sensor. Again, twist and pull. If you need to, clean it off. Apply 5W20. Motor oil again to the O-ring. And I'm going to insert it in the new valve cover. Again, twisting a little if needed, and pushing down, and starting our bolt. We're going to be torquing these to 80 inch-pounds. And the other one's also torqued to 80 inch-pounds. Now we're going to put our gaskets into the new valve cover. I'm going to start with the solenoid gasket. So you're going to put it in there and you're just going to press it in. Now we're going to put our main gasket on. And again, will only fit one way. So you're just going to go along and press it in. You really want to make sure the gasket is seated in there and stays, because when you're trying to get the valve cover on to the engine, you don't want the gasket falling out. So just take your time and do it right the first time. Don't rush it. Before installing your new valve cover, you're going to want to clean the head surface. So I'm using a plastic scraper at first just to get the chunky stuff off. You don't want to gouge into it, obviously. So be nice to the surface. Have rags over the actual cams so nothing gets in there. We're going to put a little bit of RTV silicone on these spots right here and here where there's seams on the head. So we're going to aim for the rear and try to get our solenoid housing in the valve cover while navigating underneath the fuel lines. Once you get close, you can let her down. Just look around, make sure there's nothing underneath. We're going to take our 4 bolts and put them in the center here. We are not tightening, we're just putting them in finger tight for now. Next, we're going to move on to the outside bolts. Again, we're just putting them in finger tight. Now we're going to put these 2 bolts, pull down the solenoid housing. So now we're going to start our tightening sequence. We're going to start in the middle here on this bolt. And we're going to torque it to 48 inch-pounds. Now that we're done the first round, we're going to re-torque to 84 inch-pounds. Now we're going to install our OCV. I did put some oil, 5W20, on the O-ring. And we're going to be torquing this bolt to 84 inch-pounds as well. Now we're going to put our coils back in. So make sure you don't lose your bolts as you move this over, if you left them in like I did. First I'm just going to put them where they belong, and then I'll fit them in. Make sure you go in the same order that the wires are in. Alright, so now that we have all 4 in, we're going to press down, make sure they're seated in properly, and start our bolts. We're going to torque these to 95 inch-pounds. Now let's put our harness back where it lives. We can just snug those up. Don't over tighten, just use about wrist tight. Plug in our solenoid. We can attach our hose here. Use a pair of pliers to just bring back that hose clamp where it belongs. We can attach this big hose here. Using a hose clamp, put the clamp back where you found it. All right, so now we have our cam sensors that we're going to plug in. One there, one there. And now it's a good idea to just scan what you've done and make sure everything's connected. If you took anything else off, put it back on. This one's for the high pressure fuel pump, which we're going to be installing next. You have to make sure that the cam is at its flattest point for this to sit properly. So when you press in on the two bolts, you're not applying too much pressure and breaking the bolts or the pad. So what we're going to do is we're going to put this in. It only fits one way. It's got a little slot in there. And we're going to turn the crank and make sure that that cam is at the flat point on the lobe. You're going to want to put a 22mm wrench on your crank bolt, crankshaft bolt, and you're just going to turn your crank clockwise, and you're going to watch your, what that's called is a tampet. You're going to watch it go up, and then you're going to watch it go back down. And once it goes down all the way, that's when it's safe to put this high pressure fuel pump back. All right, so now we're going to put this in. Make sure your surface is clean. And put some oil on the O-ring. And you're going to know that you're in good shape if it's not too big of a space. So when we tighten down these bolts, we have to do a half turn and then go to the other bolt and do another half turn and go to the other bolt and so on and so forth. So you're going to slowly rock it down, basically. Another thing you want to make sure is that this line is lined up where it needs to be before you tighten it down. So you're going to go half turn and a half turn. We're going to torque this to 120 inch-pounds. Now we can reinstall our lines and our connector. I'm going to start with this one. We're just going to push it on. Make sure it's connected good. And you can thread your line on. I'm going to find our connector. I'm going to go under this hose. And we can reconnect that. All right, so let's torque our fuel line to 22 foot-pounds. I'm using a torque wrench with a crow's foot to do that. All right, now you can put your relay back in for your fuel pump. Cap back on. Now we can put our negative battery terminal back on. Tighten up your terminal. Using a 10mm socket. And now we can put our engine cover back on. You're just going to be lining up your bushings. Press down. Now what you're going to do is cycle your key several times off and on without starting the vehicle so that the fuel can get back where it belongs in order to start the vehicle. Once you've cycled the key a few times, you can start the car, see how it runs, check for leaks if any, and take it for a road test.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.